name's Emma Colbert. I've worked as an artist in the medium of soft pastel since around 2008. I mostly paint portraits, wildlife, and landscape, but all of these from the comfort of my studio and mostly from my own photo references. I've always wanted to take my gear outside and go on painting adventures, and this year I've promised myself that I will make time for that. I thought I'd bring you along too, so I hope you enjoy the first in this series of plein air adventures in Andalucía. So I think this is going to be my spot for the next few hours. It's pretty hot here though, I don't have any shade, but I do have an umbrella with me, so I'm going to get my stuff set up and try to create a bit of shade around me and my easel. Anything that I use here, I'll link to it in the description below. My easel is a Julian easel that I normally use on my desktop in the studio, but the detachable legs have come in really useful over the years. I highly recommend this brand of easel as I've put it through a lot of abuse over 10 years and it's still incredibly sturdy. If this is a little too big for your plein air trips, they also do some smaller versions, but I love to work big sometimes, and this easel accommodates quite large pieces back in my studio. For my shade, I brought a normal umbrella, and I just had a look around my studio to see how I could attach it above me for the day. And this is just a stand I have for some studio lights, and I cable tied the umbrella on. Not very sophisticated, but hey, it worked. And the stand was perfect as it was small and light to carry. I just put some rocks around the base of it to stop it blowing away. The umbrella could have been bigger, but it did the job. As a drawing board, I always use these art folders. Because soft pastel is dry, it's easy to transport it by just covering it over, and the inside of these folders make a perfect board to work on. Then at the end I can just cover the piece with a sheet of paper and close it safely in the folder. I brought quite a small range of pastels. These I carried in my Prim storage boxes, which click together and have a handle on the top. Unfortunately, they've stopped making these, so I can't give you a link for them, but try searching on Amazon as sometimes you'll find a shop still selling them. I put my palette of colours all out on a spare tray that I brought, and apart from my camera tripod and camera, that's all the gear I needed. You can go out without a fancy easel, don't let this hold you back. A simple board that you can prop on your knees will work fine, but I spend so much time sitting in my studio that I really wanted to stand while I work outside. So I'm pretty much set up, a pretty simple setup. I think the umbrella is going to be pretty important this time because it is scorching hot. And this isn't particularly the light that I want to paint at the moment. I've come a bit early so that I can get set up, choose the composition that I want to focus on. And hopefully then a little bit later in the evening, it's going to be more the type of lighting that I want to paint. So how to make use of a viewfinder. This really helps me a lot because otherwise I find it very difficult to look at a vast landscape like this and to choose the composition. Where do I want to crop this, because of course when you're stood here, you can see right around into your peripherals, and it can be a bit overwhelming to know what to actually include in the painting. So with this viewfinder, I can just move this around, and I kind of stand and squint with one eye and basically use that to try and find a pleasing composition. And you can see that I've given myself a little piece of string just taped on the back, which gives me a center point. And then on my paper, which is the same ratio as the hole in my viewfinder, I've also given myself that little center point, which should hopefully just help me get this sketched out a bit more accurately. I'm going to use a hard pastel stick. I don't know if you can see that because I'm in the shade, but I'm going to use a little Conte stick, just a brown colour, something that will disappear hopefully into the painting. And I'm just going to give myself a bit of a rough outline with the help of my trusty viewfinder. So I just try to choose where the little path is going to come off at this bottom corner here. And we're going to see the start of it just about here. So I'm kind of starting with the outer dimensions, I suppose. We're going to see the little path disappear roughly about here. So just give myself some pointers to get me started. So that's kind of the shape for the little path in front of me. And then I can choose a few other more prominent lines as well. So we've got the hillside just in front of me. I think I am going to frame that sort of about halfway up this top quarter. And that comes sweeping down into the center here. Sometimes it's a good idea to choose where the center point is going to be. And in the center point here, we've actually got a nice tree, a nice olive tree here. So that's kind of going to be in the middle with the path kind of disappearing around behind that. So that's my line sketch with as much information as I feel that I need. I've gone for an exceptionally high horizon line today, and that's mainly because the sky today is not so interesting. I might come back and do this scene again on a day when we've got some really nice big clouds rolling through, but today it's just clear blue sky all the way. So I decided to do a high horizon line and to focus more on the different layers of land and trees and the lovely foreground path here in front of us. So I'm gonna give it a little while just to get some more of these shadows. The sun is starting to come around here now, and that casts some more interesting shadows in this direction and puts some of these background trees a little bit more in the shade as well.
So time to start the colour work and put some of these lovely soft pastels to use. I'm working on Clairefontaine pastel matte paper. This is the sanguine colour, a colour I hadn't actually used before, but I thought that the warm tone of this would be perfect for a Spanish landscape. It's nice to start off with a warm tone, I find. And I'm certainly going to be experimenting with different tones of paper as I experiment more with plein air painting. The size I'm working at is just 12 by 8 inches. The first experience I had of plein air a few weeks ago, I ended up working much bigger, and of course that was much more difficult. So my advice is to start small, even maybe smaller than this, and really just focus on your colour palette. Don't worry about details. Figure out the composition and try to use looser, more blocky marks. I tend to work in a lot of detail quite often, so for me this is an interesting experiment to trying to loosen up and use different types of marks, using the sides of my pastels more and trying to be a bit bolder with my marks and my colours. I'm using mostly unison pastels. I've got a few Terry Ludwigs in there as well. You can see the dark aubergine colour that I've put down on the first layer of the tree line. And that's such a popular colour from Terry Ludwig. I absolutely love it. So a mixture of brands, but the majority of the time I'm working with unisons and some Terry Ludwigs. And I just try to build up my layers gradually. As I said, I'm trying to make use of the sides of the pastels. I find that really helpful to stop me from going into small details. And my main advice, if like me, you're trying to loosen up in your style of landscape painting, is to look for the bigger shapes first. So I try to do a bit of blocking in with my darker values first, and to not worry about smaller shapes or details until closer to the very end. By placing the bigger shapes first, I can allow myself time to figure out how much detail I want to add. But all of this is still a work in progress for me. It's something I'm going to have to practice. Working from life is not something that I do a lot of the time, so it's going to take me a while to work on these observational skills.
Well, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I am reasonably pleased with what I managed to do. This is still pretty new to me, so I have a lot to learn when it comes to painting on plein air. And today especially, I've realized that I really need to practice olive trees, and I am surrounded by olive trees here, so that is something worth practicing if I want to paint some of this beautiful Andalusian landscape, and I really do. There are so many places that I have in mind to go and spend an afternoon like this. And I'm hoping that once I get it, hopefully when I get a bit better at this, I'll be able to try different lighting. So going out first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, to try and get the really beautiful atmospheric sunrise, sunset, different types of lighting. So there's so much to explore with plein air, and I'm just dipping my toes. So I hope that you've enjoyed coming with me in this little excursion out into the Andalusian landscape. I am absolutely roasted. I was very glad of my umbrella. My hands are absolutely dirty, so I'm gonna get cleaned up a little bit, pack up, and head home. So it's a couple of days later and I am back in the comfort of my studio. I thought I would do the outro from here because by the end of that long and hot afternoon, I was just ready to get packed up and get home. So I really enjoyed this excursion. My first adventure into plein air was in a town setting, so much different, very busy, lots of buildings and a very different type of scene. Whereas this was very peaceful. I had a really lovely afternoon without seeing anybody. And I think for many of you, if you're wanting to get into plein air, I know that one of the main things that puts you off in the beginning is the idea of people coming along and looking over your shoulder. Now that doesn't bother me too much, but I've got to say I did really enjoy this afternoon, somewhere nice and quiet and peaceful. So I'll be doing that again. I have so many little spots in this area kind of marked out as places I would like to go and do some little studies like this. And the main thing that I think is so interesting, I'm not really bothered about creating very photorealistic paintings on the spot. What I'm more interested in is capturing the light, capturing the colors, because although this doesn't look photorealistic, it looks much closer to the colors that I see there in person than any photograph that I take from the place. So my idea for these studies is to test out compositions, to make color studies, and then if I really like one of them, perhaps when I get back to my studio, then I'll do a bigger painting using the information from my smaller study. So this is absolutely something that I hope to continue at now that I have started. And I would love to know what you thought of this video. Would you like me to bring my camera out on future excursions and take you with me? I would love to perhaps turn this into a little series, and that might as well boost me to doing this regularly. And for anyone who's interested in the equipment that I was using, I will add links to all of that in the description below. The easel in particular is an easel that I've had for many years and they really are fantastic. So I'll add some links in the description below if you would like to have a look at where I get some of my kit. I'll also add the link to my Patreon channel if you would like to learn more from me all about soft pastel. But do have a look around here on my YouTube channel. I have lots of playlists with lots of information all about soft pastel. But thanks very much for watching this here. Please do remember to subscribe, and until next time, happy pasteling.